Hello there. Welcome to the Saroy channel, wherever you are in the world, and so much love to each and every one of you. For those of you that like to get to the juicy story where you have the straightforward Bigfoot encounter, well, I've got that for you on this channel right now. But the full stories are really worth listening to, and I've got them listed at the bottom, because really, just the Bigfoot encounter without the whole experience from the beginning to the middle and the end is really worth listening to. But if you just want to get to the juicy encounter that people have sent in to me, by all means, here are a few examples of them right now on my channel. So get straight into the business, shall we? And let's get started. Suddenly I sensed in every core of my being that I was being watched, and I could feel steel eyes on me, although I could not see them anywhere. I knew suddenly that I was not alone, and I felt this incredible, dreadful sense of foreboding. I know of no other way to describe it. Poor little Juno was far from happy. I could see his ears were standing up and his tail was tucked between his legs, and he was making the strangest yelping cry. I knew that he wanted to leave as much as I did. I noticed a little teepee in the forest that was made from timber posts that had been stacked over each other haphazardly. I looked inside the structure and I saw a nest which was neatly strewn with bones in one area, and I could smell a foul odour of damp dog-like skunk, all mixed together. What on earth was this structure, I wondered, peering inside it curiously. I'd never seen anything so peculiarly bizarre in all my life. It looked like some kind of a home or a hut. Suddenly I heard the most terrible growl that caused the whole ground to literally shake and vibrate. It was a horrifying sound, and it caused my entire body to shake violently. My stomach was literally in knots, and I began to feel the most dreadful nausea rising in my throat, and my head started to pound violently with what appeared to be the warning signs of an ominously bad migraine attack. I dropped my basket, and all the contents of food fell onto the ground in a haphazard heap, but I didn't care. I so badly wanted to run, and that was all I could think about in that moment. But I was incapacitated by a compounding fear that literally caused my body to freeze over like a massive block of ice. I could see this gargantuan black shape moving between the branches. It was like a shadowy form in the tree line that swayed from one side to another, watching me ever so closely, but always remained hidden from my sight. Whatever this thing was, I knew it was colossal and monstrous in size, and it definitely was a treacherous savage beast. Of that I was certain. I knew it could pounce on me and devour me in any moment. I had observed all those mauled and cleanly stripped animal bones lying in neat piles on the teppee, and I was fully aware that I could be next on his dinner menu, as far as this vicious, menacing beast was concerned. Suddenly I could feel this burst of adrenaline surging and rising through my body like powerful strongs of palpable currents of electricity. And then I found myself running and racing as fast as I could through the forest, with Juno running behind me. I promise you, I have never ever run like that before. And I knew in my gut that the worst thing you could possibly ever do when it comes to a predator is run away from it. But I could not suppress that desperate urge to escape this gruesome, evil, jumbo-sized beast. I was surprised that the creature was not charging behind me, or in hot pursuit of me like a lion, which I thought was exceedingly odd for a dangerous predator. Maybe he had eaten his full share of prey today, and was not hungry enough to add me to his dinner plate on this occasion, I thought. I never told Tilly about my strange experience in the forest and my search for the hairy man, because she had warned me off going there in the first place. I was sad that I had not encountered the grumpy, cantankerous man, because it would have been very interesting to have met him, good for my novels and my research as well. But there was no way on God's earth I'd go back into that forest again, even if you paid me £1 million. Not with that dangerous predator out there loitering around like a bad smell. The following day I was sitting on the wooden deck that enveloped itself snugly around our cabin, with Tilly and I sipping hot tea and eating Irish scones with jams and clotted cream. "This is the life," I said to Tilly. "It's magnificently enchanting out here." "You're not wrong, lassie. It's more beautiful than Ireland, and that's saying something coming from me, because I love the Emerald Isle more than life itself, because she is my motherland. But this place just cannot be beaten." Suddenly I noticed that Juno had been lying by my feet, was now sitting hunched up and growling furiously. Then I saw him, this dark, shadowy movement coming from the forests, and he walked towards us and turned my stomach cold. Walking through the tree line was an enormous apex predator, the likes of such that I have never seen before. The creature was gargantuan, at about 8 feet tall and at least 800 pounds. This must have been the creature who was shadowing me yesterday, I thought, and he was more terrifying in the flesh than I ever imagined or even anticipated. His whole body was covered in thick, dark, sensuous brown hair, apart from the face that was completely hairless and covered in grey thick skin, with a protruding brow ridge, thin lips, and a very dark flat nose. The creature was humanoid and bipedal, with a very definite primate look to it, and its arms were so long that the creature would not have had any difficulty touching his ankles while standing totally straight. I noticed the creature was carrying Tilly's basket in his human-like hands that I had dropped yesterday in the forest, which he appeared to be returning, which was most odd for a creature as formidable as this one. We watched the creature park the basket at the cabin door, and then walk away on long, slender legs, taking 5-foot strides as he moved, while he swung his arms backwards and forwards, and he moved with incredible fluid grace. What's the hairy man doing here?" asked Tilly, looking aghast. "And what's he doing with my basket?" "Is that the hairy man?" I asked in horror. "But he's not human." "You went into the forest, didn't you?" said Tilly. "Did I not warn you to leave the hairy man alone? He doesn't like to be bothered. He's a loner that keeps himself to himself, and he doesn't like to be disturbed." "I thought you were talking about a hillbilly living on the land. I didn't actually think I'd run into King Kong," I said. "Oh, you thought the hairy man was human," laughed Tilly. "It looks like you got off lightly, because he can have a hell of a temper on him. He doesn't take kindly to strangers, but maybe your pretty face softened his heart. I think he might just have a soft spot for a pretty young thing like yourself. Perhaps there is a kink in his armour after all," she giggled. "Maybe our hairy man has a fluttering heart," she teased. I then told Tilly about the terrifying ordeal I'd actually had in the forest with the hairy man. "I thought he was going to kill me," I told her. "Kill you?" laughed Tilly. "Never in a million years. Chase you out of the forest, definitely, but kill you, never." "What kind of a creature is he?" I asked Tilly. "I've never ever seen one like him before." "I'm not sure," she said, "but he's been around here for a very long time, and he keeps himself to himself and never bothers anyone. He regards the forest as his domain, and we've always respected that as long as we've lived here. He does respect our space, much as we respect his. It's always been that way for as long as I can remember." "Are there others like him?" I asked. "Oh, yes, he does have a female companion, and a wee little one, which they are very protective over and very proud of. That pair have been together for years. They're as thick as thieves, the two of them, and they have a very strong, powerful family unit." "You mean they're monogamous?" "Oh, definitely," she said. "You seem fascinated by the creature." "I am," I said. "I never imagined something so scary and terrifying to be so human-like and normal." "Well, he is very smelly," laughed Tilly. "He really could do with a bath, but he rolls in the mud all the time. I think he does that to ward off the bugs, but by golly does he stink. You always know when he's been around, because the place smells so rank. I often find him in the strawberry beds, and he smells." I retrieved the basket from the door and was surprised to see that it was filled with freshwater trout from the lake. "Oh, my word," laughed Tilly. "The hairy man brought you a present. You must have made an impression on him. I think he has a soft spot for you after all. Did I not tell you?" she giggled. "He never brought me trout as long as I've lived here, for many long years." "Well, I thought the hairy man was human, didn't I?" I said.
So I brought him some of your baked goodies into the woods in that basket, and then I dropped them in fear when I came across that creature that I saw shadowing me in the woods, which just so happened to be the hairy man himself." "Oh, so you brought him some of my stuff as a gift?" "Well, I thought it was a real live hairy man vagrant in the woods. The hairy man made such an impression on me because he was an apex predator that had terrified me half to death, but there was a whole other side to him that was actually endearing and almost gentle. I could hardly believe it. During the rest of my stay at my publisher's cabin, I continued to gift the creature with Tilly's homemade delights, but I always left the goodies outside the forest as a sign of respect, and never ventured inside. The hairy man would always gift us with trout from the lake. Sometimes it was a leg of venison, a deerskin, or even a couple of dead rabbits, much to Tilly's delight, because she loved making rabbit stew from one of her Irish recipes.
So there we are. That's the juicy bits of our stories tonight. I personally think you should go back and listen to the whole story because it makes it so much more exciting, because then you learn all about where it happened, the location, and all about the fabulous characters involved in the story, and that makes the story so much more gripping. But as I say, so go down to the description and then click on to the YouTube link, and then you will hear the whole story. Until next time, goodbye and good night.